Namaskar viewers, hello and welcome to this special broadcast on Sansad TV. I am Teena. 3rd of April bears a special significance for Rajya Sabha, the upper house of parliament. It was on this day that the House of Elders was constituted back in 1952. In its 71-year-long journey, the House has taken a decisive, directional lead in reaffirming and enhancing the core values of the Republic. At the same time, maintaining checks and balances in the democratic system. Celebrating this rich and credible legacy of the Second Chamber of Parliament, the Rajya Sabha Foundation Day was celebrated on the 20th of April. In this special broadcast, we'll bring before you glimpses of the Rajya Sabha Day celebrations. We'll also take you through the origin, history, significance and contributions of Rajya Sabha over the past 7 decades. To commemorate the Foundation Day of Rajya Sabha, celebrations were organized at the GMC Balyogi Auditorium in Parliament by the Rajya Sabha Secretariat. Rajya Sabha Chairman Jagdeep Dhankar graced the occasion and hailed the role of the House in strengthening parliamentary democracy. A magnificent display of culture, patriotism and team spirit at the celebrations marking 71 years of the Constitution of the House of Elders. Gracing the special occasion was Vice President and Rajya Sabha Chairman Jagdeep Dhankar, along with his wife Dr. Sudesh Dhankar. The Chairman praised the Secretariat for their role in enhancing the efficiency and transparency of the Rajya Sabha. He suggested that Rajya Sabha employees tour various parts of the country in groups for which the Secretariat will offer help.
परिवार को खुश रखो, परिवार को स्वस्थ रखो। मैंने पहले भी कहा और आज सब कह रहा हूं और आज जिनके सामने कह रहा हूं वो बच्चे बच्चियां बुजुर्ग आपको याद भी दिलाएंगे। देश का भ्रमण कीजिए, इकट्ठे होकर कीजिए, भारत को देखिए, हम सब मिलकर आपकी मदद करेंगे।
The chairman also used the occasion to cite provisions of the Constitution to say that Parliament comprises of the President, the Rajya Sabha and the Lok Sabha.
हमारा सबसे बड़ा ज्ञान हमारे संविधान से आता है। हमारे संविधान में जो बात है उससे हमें ज्ञान लेना चाहिए और वो ज्ञान ये है कि भारत की संसद के 3 हिस्से हैं। सर्वोपरि महामहिम राष्ट्रपति जी और फिर हैं लोकसभा और राज्यसभा। हमारा भाईचारा नहीं है, हम एक हैं।
Deputy Chairman of Rajya Sabha, Harivansh said, Parliament is an organic body which has to evolve with the changing times.
संसद एक ऑर्गेनिक बॉडी है, समय के सापेक्ष होती है। चूंकि समय बदलता है और समय तेजी से बदलता है, तो संसद which is the repository of hopes and aspirations of the people who are sovereign has to face new challenges in the changed circumstances. लिहाजा उसे भी अपनी उपयोगिता और इफेक्टिवनेस को मेंटेन करने के लिए अपने को बदलना पड़ता है समय के अनुरूप।
Secretary General of the Rajya Sabha P.C. Modi elaborated on the glorious journey of the upper house and its contribution to nation building. He spoke about the need to further enhance efficiency by use of technology.
The Rajya Sabha has had a glorious period contributing significantly to the nation building. But friends, we still have a long journey to undertake. It's our bounden duty to ensure that this august institution reaches greater heights by displaying high degree of professionalism and an enhanced efficiency through effective use of technology.
Lauding the officials for showcasing an excellent program, Additional Secretary of Rajya Sabha Vandana Kumar said, the celebration reflected the spirit of cooperation for which the upper house stands.
Wonderful team effort. Officers and staff from all the branches, all the divisions of the Secretariat came together to make it a success. And everyone had such wonderful ideas, so we wanted to make it a very composite whole. One which has messaging. The fact is that we work in the Apex organization, which serves the democracy, the mother of democracy, and we are so proud of that. So that strand had to be there in everything that we did.
The event also saw employees of the Secretariat and their wards being felicitated for their achievements in various competitions that were held in the run-up to the special event celebrating Rajya Sabha Day. As the Rajya Sabha marks another milestone year in its journey of playing a pivotal role in India's much-cherished parliamentary democracy, we take a look back at its origin, history and evolution. The demand for a popular government and representative institutions like Parliament was central to India's struggle for independence. Stalwarts of our fight for freedom and the founding fathers of our republic envisioned Parliament as an institutional expression of our democracy and sovereign authority of our people. Exemplifying this vision, the Council of States was constituted on the 3rd of April 1952 as the second chamber of the Indian Parliament. The idea of a second chamber of Parliament can be traced to the 1919 Montague-Chelmsford report. The report proposed constitutional reforms for India and recommended a second chamber of legislature similar to other democracies of the time. Passed by the then Imperial Parliament, the Government of India Act 1919 translated these proposals into action, creating the second chamber. It provided that the Indian legislature shall consist of the Governor-General and two chambers, namely the Council of State and the House of Assembly. The term of the Council was fixed at 5 years. However, under the Government of India Act, the Council of State was made a continuous body not subject to dissolution. The members were to hold their seats for 9 years and 1/3 of them retiring at the end of every 3 years. But the scheme envisaged for the second chamber under the Government of India Act 1935 never materialized because the provisions pertaining to the federal structure under the Act were never put into operation. As a result, the second chamber set up under the Government of India Act 1919 continued to function till 1947. Post-independence, the rationale of a second chamber of Parliament and its role in the democratic polity became an important issue of deliberation and consideration for the framers of our Constitution. The Union Constitution Committee, set up by the Constituent Assembly under the chairmanship of Jawaharlal Nehru, presented its report to the Constituent Assembly on 21st July 1947 with the following proposals in respect of the second chamber. It said the two chambers should be named the Council of States and the House of the People. It proposed 250 members for the Council of States. Each unit of the Council of States was to have a member for every million population up to 5 million, plus one member for every 2 additional million, with a maximum of 20 for each unit. The lower houses of the legislatures of the units were to elect these representatives to the Council of States. The President would nominate 10 members in consultation with universities and scientific bodies. It was also recommended that the Vice President of India would be the ex officio chairman of the Council, and a member elected as Vice President would vacate his or her seat. The two chambers had equal powers except on money bills. Deadlocks were to be resolved by joint meetings. Money bills were to originate in the House of the People. the Council of States had the power to suggest amendments that could be accepted or rejected by the House of the People. The Council of States could not be dissolved since only 1/3 of its members would retire every 2 years. The report of the committee was discussed in the Constituent Assembly on 28th of July 1947. During the extensive discussion, divergent views emerged. While some members felt a second chamber was not essential, others said it would introduce sobriety and second thought in parliamentary deliberations. Replying to the debate, N. Gopalswamy Iyengar made a profound observation, saying, and I quote, "The need for a second chamber has been felt practically all over the world wherever there are federations of any importance. After all, the question for us to consider is whether it performs any useful function. The most that we expect the second chamber to do is perhaps to hold dignified debates on important issues and to delay legislation which might be the outcome of passions of the moment until the passions have subsided and calm consideration could be bestowed on the measures which will be before the legislature. Through the existence of a second chamber, we also give an opportunity perhaps to seasoned people who may not be in the thickest of the political fray, but who might be willing to participate in the debate with an amount of learning and importance which we do not ordinarily associate with the House of the People. That is all that is proposed in regard to this second chamber. I think, on the whole, the balance of consideration is in favour of having such a chamber and taking care to see that it does not prove a clog either to legislation or administration." Unquote. The motion was adopted by the Constituent Assembly on 28 July 1947, agreeing in principle to have two chambers in the federal legislature, the Council of States and the House of the People. In 1949, the Constituent Assembly discussed the provisions for various aspects of the Council of States and its powers. The first election to the Council of States was held in March 1952, and the House was constituted on the 3rd of April the same year. Thus, the Rajya Sabha was envisaged to play an important role as a legislative, federal and a deliberative chamber.
The upper house normally is considered the house of elders or statesmen. It is the sobering house or the reviewing house. In the Constituent Assembly debates, this is the reference that we find, because in the heat of the moment, certain legislations may get passed in the Lok Sabha, but when the bills come to the Rajya Sabha dispassionately debates, discusses them, and it delays them wherever necessary.
Since its first sitting on the 13th of May 1952, the Rajya Sabha has been discharging its mandate, enabling people of the country to fulfill their hopes and aspirations. On 23rd of August 1954, Dr. S. Radhakrishnan, the first chairman of the Council of States, announced that the second chamber of Parliament will be henceforth known as the Rajya Sabha. The two names, Council of States and Rajya Sabha, indicates the Constitution linked the second chamber to the states. So what are the constitutional provisions of the Council of States or the Rajya Sabha? We tell you in this report. The Indian Constitution envisages a federal polity, a lower house that is directly elected by the people, and an upper house that is elected by members of the legislative assemblies of the states and union territories. Since legislative assemblies are directly elected by the people, the democratic character of Rajya Sabha is fully maintained. 250 members is the maximum strength of the Rajya Sabha, as laid down by Article 80 of the Constitution. The President nominates 12 members. The other 238 members are the representatives of the states and the union territories. The members nominated by the President are people with special knowledge or practical experience in the fields of literature, science, arts and social service. The fourth schedule to the Constitution lays down the allocation of seats to the states and the union territories in Rajya Sabha. Allocation of seats is on the basis of the population of each state. Depending on the reorganization of states and formation of new states, the number of elected seats in the Rajya Sabha allotted to states and union territories has changed from time to time since 1952. Members in the Rajya Sabha are chosen through an indirect election. Representatives of each state are elected by the members of the Legislative Assembly of that state, while members of the union territories are elected by the Electoral College for that union territory.
The idea behind this indirect election was that lot of people get elected to the Lok Sabha because of their charisma, but there are still a large number of people who have good potential to contribute to legislation, governance and other modes of political activity, but they do not have that popular support in order to get elected to the lower house, that is the Lok Sabha. And therefore, this device was found to get them elected to the Rajya Sabha so that their use can be made for better governance.
Rajya Sabha is a permanent house, not subject to dissolution. 1/3 of its members retire every second year. An elected member serves for 6 years and at the end of the term retires from the membership of the Rajya Sabha.
Over the years, some very important changes have taken place, which we should note. First and foremost, since it is a council of states, earlier only the residents of the states could be elected to the Rajya Sabha. Now this domicile requirement has been removed. So a person who belongs to, say, Assam can be elected as a member of the Rajya Sabha from Gujarat, so long as the members of the constituent, the State Assembly of Gujarat elect him or her to the Rajya Sabha.
Presiding officers of the Rajya Sabha have the responsibility of conducting the proceedings of the House. The Vice President of India is the ex officio chairman of Rajya Sabha. The Rajya Sabha also chooses from amongst its members a deputy chairman. The Rajya Sabha chairman nominates a panel of vice chairmen from amongst the members of the upper house. In the absence of the chairman and the deputy chairman, a member from this panel presides over the proceedings of the House.
माननीय सदस्यगण और माननीय मंत्रीगण, बहुत साफ कई बार माननीय चेयरमैन ने कहा है कि पॉइंटेड सवाल और पॉइंटेड आंसर.
As a federal chamber, Rajya Sabha enjoys special powers under the Constitution. All the subjects and areas regarding legislation are divided into 3 lists: Union list, State list and the concurrent list. Union and state lists are mutually exclusive. In normal circumstances, Parliament cannot legislate on a matter placed in the state list. However, if Rajya Sabha passes a resolution by a 2/3 majority of members who voted to say it is necessary or expedient in the national interest, Parliament becomes empowered to make a law for the whole or any part of the territory of India. Such a resolution remains in force for a maximum of 1 year, but this period can be extended by another year at a time by passing a similar resolution. If Rajya Sabha passes a resolution by a 2/3 majority of the members present declaring that it is expedient in the national interest to create one or more All India services common to the Union and the states, Parliament becomes empowered to create such services. The Constitution allows the President to issue proclamations for national emergency, failure of constitutional machinery in a state, or in the case of financial emergency. All such proclamations have to be approved by both houses of Parliament within a stipulated period. Under certain circumstances, however, Rajya Sabha enjoys special powers in this regard. If a proclamation is issued when the Lok Sabha has been dissolved, then the proclamation remains effective if the Rajya Sabha passes it within the period specified in the Constitution under Articles 352, 356 and 360. Ever since its inception, the role played by the Rajya Sabha for strengthening parliamentary democracy and its ever-increasing activities has reinforced the expectations that the founding fathers of our republic had for a bicameral legislature. Back in 1952, the first chairman of the upper house, Dr. S. Radhakrishnan, had said in his inaugural address, and I quote, "We are, for the first time, starting under the parliamentary system with a second chamber in the centre, and we should try to do everything in our power to justify to the public of this country that a second chamber is essential to prevent hasty legislation. From then to now, in its 71-year-long journey, the House of Elders, as a continuing institution, has so far held 259 sessions. It has witnessed introduction of 1,017 bills and introduced several amendments. The House has traversed a memorable journey through lively debates, informed discussions, and its ability to handle complex issues in the interest of the nation. Today, as we are in the Amrit Kal, there is renewed hope that this august institution will once again lead by example in setting up the traditions of parliamentary democracy, exemplifying the highest deliberative emulative standards.
Upholding the federal principle of our democracy, Rajya Sabha contributes towards the welfare of the people by voicing their concerns and acting as a platform for erudite discussions. Honorable members, terms upper house or House of Elders, though not part of official glossary, amply reflect uniquely significant importance of this institution. Nation justifiably expects us to lead by example in setting sublime parliamentary traditions worth emulating by all others. The House should be a platform for debate, dialogue, deliberations and discussion, and not a theatre of disruption and disturbance.
So that brings me to an end of this broadcast. Thank you very much for your time.